He slept beside her, his Bible open to Song of Solomon on the nightstand, verses about loves as strong as death, circled in red ink. She traced the scar on his shoulder, a childhood burn, he'd called it, and wondered how many other secrets his robes hid. "You should go," he murmured, eyes still closed. "Your husband's no fool." Rachel stiffened. "David's at a cybersecurity conference in Chicago. He thinks I'm at book club." Thomas sat up, the sheet pooling at his waist. "And what does your book club read?" "Lady Chatterley's Lover." She threw a pillow at him. He caught it, laughing, and for a moment, he looked almost boyish, almost kind. Then his smile faded. "This can't happen again." "Bullshit." She straddled him, nails digging into his wrists. "You don't get to preach at me after this." He flipped her onto her back, pinning her. "You're right," he said, voice gravelly. "I don't." Afterward, Rachel dressed in the bathroom, her reflection a stranger's. Thomas's phone buzzed on the sink. Against her better judgment, she glanced at the screen. "Unknown number. Did you tell her about us?" Her blood froze. Before she could unlock it, Thomas yanked the phone away. "Snooping." He deleted the message, his calm unnerving. Who was that? A parishioner. Jealous type. He kissed her temple. "Don't worry. You're my only sin." Across town, David stared at the grainy security footage on his laptop. The camera he'd hidden in Rachel's car showed her turning onto Pine Street every Thursday at 8:45 p.m. He'd followed her once, watched her climb the motel stairs, but couldn't bring himself to see the room number. Now, he typed furiously into an encrypted forum, how to hack a pastor's email. A user named AnonSleuth94 responded, $5,000 in Bitcoin. "I'll get you everything." David hesitated, then transferred the funds. Their trysts grew reckless. Thomas booked rooms under aliases, Mr. and Mrs. Smith at the Pine Inn, Dr. and Mrs. Green at the Oakwood Suites. Rachel kept souvenirs, a matchbook, a hotel pen, a black lace thong he'd torn off her. One night, as Thomas showered, Rachel riffled through his wallet. Behind his credit cards, she found a folded photo of a blonde girl, Sarah, the teen from his youth group. On the back, in smudged ink, "Forgive me." The bathroom door creaked open. "She was special," Thomas said, towel slung low. "Like you." Rachel's throat tightened. "Did you love her?" He took the photo, lit it with a match, and dropped it into the ice bucket. "Love is a luxury. We're creatures of need." At the next support group meeting, Marcy cornered Rachel by the coffee urn. "You look glowy," she said, stirring creamer with a little too much force. "Found a new sponsor?" Rachel feigned innocence. "Just praying more." Marcy's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Funny. Pastor Tom's been praying a lot too. Missed 3 sermons this month." A cold knot formed in Rachel's stomach. "Maybe he's sick. Or maybe," Marcy whispered, "he's got a fever only one person can cure." For weeks later, Rachel stared at the pink plus sign. The test trembled in her hand. Thomas paced his office, raking fingers through his hair. "You're sure? Unless it's the second coming." He gripped her shoulders. "We'll fix this. There's a clinic in." She slapped him. "Fix this? You think I'm one of your troubled teens?" He caught her wrist. "You're troubled, Rachel. But this..." He pressed a hand to her stomach. "This is God's punishment." AnonSleuth94 delivered 27,000 emails, including deleted ones. David scrolled through exchanges with Sarah L. "Meet me after Bible study. Delete this." A PDF autopsy report. Sarah Miller, cause of death. Overdose. Pregnancy, 8 weeks. The final email, unsent. Draft dated the night Sarah died. I'm sorry. I'll make it right. David vomited into the kitchen sink. Rachel stormed into the Pine Inn, waving the pregnancy test. You don't get to vanish. Thomas zipped his duffel bag. I'm transferring to a church in Denver. The board's arranging it. Because of her? Rachel hissed. Or the others? He froze. Others? The texts. The photo. Did Sarah kill herself over you too? Thomas backhanded her. She crumpled against the dresser, blood trickling from her lip. You're a disease, he spat. But don't worry, I know how to contain outbreaks. David found the Pine Inn receipt in Rachel's jacket, the room number circled. He drove there, gun in the glove box, but room 12 was empty, save for Rachel's black lace thong under the bed. On the nightstand, a Bible with a handwritten note, Proverbs 5 verses 3-5. He flipped to the passage. For the lips of an adulterous woman drip honey, but in the end she is bitter as gall. Crashing the car into a ditch, he screamed until his voice broke. Rain lashed the stained glass windows of Thomas's office as Rachel slammed the ultrasound photo onto his desk. The grainy image trembled under his gaze. You don't get to run to Denver, she said. Not while this is inside me. Thomas leaned back, steepling his fingers. You think the board will let a pregnant addict destroy their golden boy? They'll say it's a lie. David's lie. David knows, she whispered. He's got proof. Emails. Photos. Sarah's autopsy report. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. He stood, circling her like a predator. Then you'll tell him the baby's his. Or I'll make sure you lose custody of Lily and this bastard. David's basement office glowed with the light of 7 monitors. A non-sleuth 94's latest upload scrolled past. Bank transfers from St. Michael's to a Denver clinic. A voicemail of Thomas urging Sarah to end the problem. Marcy sat beside him, clutching Sarah's teddy bear. Post it all, Marcy urged. The congregation deserves to know. David's cursor hovered over send. Not yet. He needs to suffer first. Sunday's service buzzed with tension. Thomas took the pulpit, his voice trembling as he preached on Psalm 51. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. In the back row, Rachel clutched Lily's hand, her belly hidden under a loose dress. David stood in the shadows, filming. Marcy rose suddenly, her voice slicing through the hymn. What about Sarah Miller, pastor? Did God wash her blood off your hands? The organ stalled. That night, David slid a manila envelope across the kitchen table. Sign them. Full custody. Or I bury you with him. Rachel stared at the words, irreconcilable differences, a sterile term for the bomb crater of their marriage. You take Lily from me? You took everything from me. He dropped a photo of room 12's thong onto the papers. Sign. Or I upload the video of Marcy's question to YouTube tonight. Her pen shook. I'm sorry. Save it for the judge. Denver's airport loomed through the limo window. Thomas scrolled through burner phones, Sarah's mother. Stay away or I'll talk. Rachel. I'm keeping the baby. His new life awaited. A megachurch, a fresh flock. But as he boarded the plane, 2 policemen blocked the jetway. Reverend Whitmore, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice in the death of Sarah Miller. Alone in the clinic waiting room, Rachel cradled her belly. The nurse called her name, Ms. Goldstein. A teenage girl across the room wept into her hands, Sarah's teddy bear peeking from her purse. Rachel fled. David's video trended by dawn. Pastors' secret sins expose. Congregants mobbed St. Michael's, screaming for answers. Marcy live-streamed the chaos, panning to the bulletin board where Rachel's ultrasound now hung beneath Sarah's obituary. Thomas, out on bail, cornered Rachel at the motel. "Fix this. Tell them I'm the father." She laughed bitterly. "You're nobody's father. Just a broken man with a Bible." He raised his hand to strike, but froze at the click of a gun. David stepped from the shadows, barrel steady. "Pray, Pastor." St. Michael's Cathedral buzzed like a kicked hornet's nest. Elder Mrs. Higgins pounded the pulpit, her voice cracking. "We must pray for Pastor Tom's redemption." Redemption? Marcy shot to her feet, waving a printed screenshot of David's viral video. "He killed Sarah Miller. You want to pray for a murderer?" The crowd erupted. A faction of loyalists huddled near the altar, rosaries clenched like weapons. Reformists flanked Marcy, their signs demanding justice for Sarah. Outside, news vans circled, cameras devouring the chaos. Rachel hunched over the bathroom sink, her reflection gaunt under flickering fluorescence. The pregnancy test, still positive, taunted her from the counter. David's divorce papers demanded she surrender Lily and the unborn child. A knock. "Mrs. Goldstein?" A social worker's voice, sweet as poison. "We'd like to discuss your fitness as a mother." Rachel slid to the floor, muffling sobs in a towel. David met a non-sleuth 94 in a parking garage, duffel bag heavy with cash. The rest of the emails. Now. The hacker tossed a thumb drive. "You sure you want this?" "There's a video. Sarah's last night." David's hand trembled. "How bad? Ever seen someone beg for their life?" Bailed out and barred from the church, Thomas holed up in a roadside motel. He scrolled burner phones, Rachel. "I'll tell them it's yours." Denver clinic, termination records ready to shred. A knock. Two teen girls from the youth group stood there, Bibles in hand. "We still believe in you," the blonde whispered. Thomas pulled them inside. Breaking into the church office, Marcy found Thomas's hidden safe behind a portrait of Jesus. Inside, Sarah's pink diary, its final entry dated the night she died. "He says the baby's a test from God. Gave me pills. Tastes like pennies. I'm scared." Marcy vomited into the offering plate. David uploaded the video. Screen grabs flooded Twitter. Sarah, ghost pale on a motel bed, pleading, "Please, Pastor Tom, call 911. Thomas's voice off camera. "God's will is done." By midnight, #DefrockTheDevil trended globally. Cornered by reporters outside Planned Parenthood, Rachel clutched her belly. "Is it true the baby is Reverend Whitmore's?" Cameras screamed. A black sedan screeched up. Thomas yanked her inside. "We disappear. Tonight." She reached for the door. "I'm done hiding. You're dead if you stay." He showed her a text. "Unknown number. She's next." Flames engulfed St. Michael's at 3 a.m., molten stained glass raining like hellfire. Firefighters found Marcy's body clutching Sarah's diary to her chest. Arson investigators missed the single security camera footage. Thomas, gas can in hand, face twisted in the inferno's glow. David pressed play on Sarah's death video. The screen glitched. A shadowy figure entered frame. Not Thomas. The killer turned. David's coffee cup shattered. "No, it can't be you." David's screen froze on the shadowy figure's face. Dr. Voss, Sarah's rehab therapist, his glasses glinting in the motel's dim light. The video played on. Sarah convulsing as Dr. Voss murmured, "Thomas sends his regrets," before slipping a pill bottle into her hand. David's breath hitched. The pills from Sarah's diary, prescribed by her own doctor. A non-sleuth 94's message blinked. "Meet me. I'll explain." The hacker waited at Meadowbrook Rehab, now a boarded-up shell. Thomas blackmailed Voss, they said, voice distorted. Voss owed him gambling debts, patient scandals. Sarah was collateral. David's fists clenched. "Why help me?" The hacker removed their hood. Sarah's mother, her eyes hollow. "I needed someone to believe." Speeding toward the Canadian border, Rachel clutched her belly. Thomas gripped the wheel, scanning for cops. "Denver's gone. But I've got a flock in Vancouver." She eyed the gun in his lap. "You didn't set the fire, did you?" He smirked. Marcy chose her side. Detective Ruiz sifted through St. Michael's ashes, finding Marcy's scorched journal. Elder Higgins paid Voss to silence Sarah. Thomas is just their puppet. A photo fell out. Higgins, Voss, and a Denver clinic director at a shadowy meeting. Ruiz called backup. "We've got a conspiracy." Posing as a journalist, David confronted Dr. Voss at his mansion. "Why frame Thomas?" Voss poured scotch, smug. "The church needed a fall guy." Higgins' orders. David activated a hidden mic. Ruiz's team stormed in. "Enjoy prison, doctor." At a gas station, Rachel found Sarah's teddy bear in Thomas's trunk, a trophy. He grabbed her. "You think I wanted her?" She was a means to an end. Rachel kneed him, snatched the gun, and fled into the woods. David tracked Rachel's phone to the motel. Inside, Thomas waited, bloodied.
"She's gone."
"But the baby's mine." David tackled him, fists flying. Sirens wailed. Ruiz arrested Thomas, snarling. Higgins talked. "You're done." Bleeding and alone, Rachel collapsed at a roadside shrine. A trucker found her, whispering, "I'll get help." As dawn broke, she gripped the gun.
"Protect the baby."
End the cycle. A single shot echoed. David arrived at the hospital. A nurse handed him a swaddled newborn, Lily's eyes, Rachel's curls. She named him Samuel. Her note. David unfolded it. "Forgive me. He's yours."